All right, welcome to the SPARC Cast, right? That's what we're calling it. We're going to be talking about networking today. So join with me today is Breeze, Jordan, Davin Sandvik. Breeze, just go ahead, talk about your business for a quick 30 seconds to a minute, just so people kind of have a little bit of context about the reason why you're networking. I'll go into my business and then we'll kind of just start talking about, how you first got into networking. We'll talk about your involvement in SPARC and we'll just keep going from there. So go for it.
So my name is Breeze. I'm the owner of Raw Marketing Group. So we're an AI and automation company. So we help in a lot of different channels of digital marketing, creating the sales funnels for the businesses and helping them to capture their brand voice for their audience. And we also have a social media production company called Social Content Masters, where we script, film, edit, and post all the content for brands. So it's a more hands-off approach for the businesses as well. So those are my core things. I'm an electrical engineering major, so I just like systems overall and like breaking down the psychology behind all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. Cool. Rock on. So I'm also kind of in marketing, but I'm in real estate. So, I market the asset side instead of the product side. So anything from real estate, commercial buildings, leasing, businesses is a new lineup that we just added. So we're actually like selling people's businesses.
Nice.
They don't want to continue to invest in their brand anymore and they're done with it and they want somebody else to invest into it. They get to sell whatever they've currently invested in and what the customers are going to keep coming back into. So
nice.
Probably going to be some interesting conversations on the business side outside of networking, but I do want to cover the networking side first. So, Breeze, how did you first get into networking?
I think it was more just an organic thing for me. I'm just a people person, kind of an extrovert. So I like to go talk to people, be in rooms with people. I do enjoy being alone, but I get just a high from being able to interact with people at a high level. So it was just me going to some events and kind of seeing, okay, what's another way that I can get my business out in front of other businesses, right? Me specifically, like marketing is a B2B, thing. So it was easy to say, okay, well, networking at a business event, I should be able to meet some business owners and use my personality in order to create that inner circle connection versus them kind of just like getting my content and liking me over time.
Yeah.
I can make somebody like me right now and then have that conversation with them.
Absolutely. Yeah. Networking does give that advantage of, like, when you see something online, anybody can post something online, but not everybody can be everywhere at the same time. Like those moments are fleeting. So just showing up to any event, like it cuts out so much competition because competition literally can't be everywhere all the time, right? Unless they're spending money to be there, right? But
exactly.
Very rarely can they get into a very niche or exclusive event. Just by being there, you've already been pre-vetted.
Yeah. So. And then I was a big salesperson as well. Like I took actually 3 years to really solidify learning sales. And I think that is something that if you have the ability to be in person, then you're able to do so much more. You're able to leverage things that you're not able to necessarily leverage over the phone or over social media, like body mirroring or, touching somebody on the shoulder or something small like that. Those things could be like just way more effective in a networking scenario.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people can't be that effective in, social scenarios. So if you can do that, then you're going to be standing above a lot of your competition anyway.
Yeah, richer communication, right? Because at the end of the day, like a big part of sales is your communication skills, right? Your ability to understand the customer. And if you can't have a rich medium for understanding them, you have to be on your A game. Like online, you have to really know your customer. And how do you do that? Well, it's a lot easier to do it in person and then apply it to, online, or then apply it to over the phone, right? I remember, getting started in real estate, I didn't do any virtual appointments, but I was trying to. I had the technology to be able to do virtual showings, but nobody was into it because it was pre-COVID. Nobody wanted it yet, right?
Yeah.
And so I realized, like, okay, you actually have to go out there and shake people's hands first, get used to what the customers want, and learn very quickly what they want. And then once you already know it, then you can leverage. But you can't leverage without knowing what to leverage, right?
So. Yeah, and you can't change somebody's preferred medium of how they're gonna take your content without having a name that's, you know, suggesting that they move, right? Like if you don't have that big enough name, you should just go with what's easy for them in general.
Yeah.
So that's my big thing, you know, when it comes to networking. Getting that inner circle of people is kind of a little bit harder, but once you can get that, it's way more valuable than just having like 1,000 followers or 1,000 outliers that are like willing to like something, but they'll never actually share anything or push your brand or anything like that.
Absolutely.
Versus if you network and you have 100 good, solid people that you know in person that are willing to do stuff for you, you can just move mountains in business.
Correct. So you mentioned something really critical there, right? You used the term inner circle. You said like 100 solid people that'll help you move mountains, right? These are people you're not necessarily paying money to get a result, but like sometimes you'll just exchange favors in business. You don't just build that like shaking someone's hand in one day trying to get a customer. So how would you define networking versus just like going out and trying to get a customer tonight? Like what's the difference between those two mindsets there?
Yeah. For me, I feel like the customers are going to come, right? Like if they come anywhere close to my sales process, I'll have a chance to sell them, right? If they book a call with me specifically for that, then I'll have a chance to sell them. But overall, I look at the networking process as connecting the dots. Like when I think of a network, I kind of have this picture in my head of like that spider web effect of people. And all I'm doing is just creating strands and creating connections between all of them. And the more that I can make, the easier it is for the overall web to have better communication, right?
Yep. And the less holes in the web, right?
Yeah.
You're going to lose less opportunity, right? So.
Yeah, and that goes for everybody, right? So all of my sphere of influence, I should be able to connect them to 2 or 3 people who are relevant for them that can help them like make needle movements, you know, at least push the needle a little bit in their business. And if I can't do that, then, you know, it's I think it's more work on my side, right? It just speaks to how much you're not connected in your community or in your industry at all.
Yeah. Amen. Absolutely. So the reason why SPARC Cast exists is because of an organization called SPARC that we are both in. You're actually the current president of the morning group. Yes, I was the first president of the morning group. How has SPARC impacted your networking?
I mean, it's just giving me like a focused home at the end of the day, right? To be able to kind of network out of, and it's giving me a group of people that I consider, you know, like a business family. And we all take the time to learn each other's business at a deeper degree. So when we do go out and network, it's like, I have 2 or 3 people that I can refer to for multiple services, or I can just make introductions in general. Even if it's not super relevant, they understand the mission of, okay, let's try to find somebody relevant. So between 2 or 3 of us in most scenarios, we're able to give people a ton of value. And I think that's been the changer for me, because I've done a ton of networking groups and none of them for me were that good. They were just, it was all about everybody selling to each other here. And that's gonna be a part of it. But when you do your business commercials, that's when everybody's gonna know what you do. And if they wanna follow up on that, then they will, right? But the more people that we can bring in, I think the better. And that's the same mindset as everybody else in the group. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, you have to, you know, in sales, one thing you realize is, okay, I need to reach centers of influence, because that's going to leverage my time way more than just trying to sell one-on-one to a customer. Like, yes, at the end of the day, I have to budget so many hours to appointments that are actually sales calls, right? But if I'm at a networking group trying to book one sales call, or I'm at a networking group meeting a center of influence who's going to introduce me to 10 people who are going to book sales calls, I mean, one of those activities is way more valuable. When you have a group like SPARC, it's like the center of the centers of influence. It's like you get those people right, that are the center of influence in their own little thing, and you get them all in one room together, right? Like how, you know, how much are you leveraging your time now? Like it's not just 10x, probably 100x. Like you're probably talking to 100 people every time you talk to 10 people in SPARC, which is like our goal.
It's also like, just different atmospheres for networking as well, right? Because we do the mix and mingle, so it's that classic business networking, vibe to talk.
Absolutely.
There. And then the meetings themselves is just more focused around each individual business kind of talking and getting that experience. I think that makes it way more powerful.
Yeah, and you need both. Like that's something that we realized way early on is like what's the problem with, I don't want to mention specific brands, but what's the problem with the big national networking companies, right? And what's the problem with going off on these one-off like chamber of commerce style, like you don't know anybody kind of business mixers, right? It's like, well, if you can combine like some of the best, but also some of the worst elements of both of them, and you can kind of eliminate the worst and you can just keep the best. And that's,
right.
That's the fun part.
And then, another thing in my experience has been like just people gouging, right? Like price gouging for memberships and things like that. Oh. And I feel like a lot of that just lends way to people not being as forthcoming, right? Like in other scenarios, maybe like a chamber of commerce or something like that, you have to pay to be able to offer your services to everybody, if that makes sense. It's like, oh, you want to be featured, even though you pay this, you got to pay this to be a featured member and have your stuff posted to everybody here. And that just doesn't make sense to me. It's like, what's the point of having it? I mean, I get that you can, hit everybody in the directory and things like that, but it should be that we're all here to kind of promote each other's services very easy and transparently.
Yep. No, for sure. That's. I mean, I think a lot of chambers or different groups have to have like different tiers, but I do believe that like membership should be membership. Like once you're in the club, you should be able to talk to anybody in the club, right? There should be no barrier to entry to that. Now, if you want extra exposure beyond membership, like, to those, kind of adjacently at events, you want to put on events, like I think that's a little different, but membership is membership. Like you should be in the club, so no, I agree on that.
And then back kind of to the networking aspect of everything as well. Like one big thing that I like about networking is how fast it is to the response, right? Like advertising, that's one of our big things, right? Media buying. And then networking, those are kind of the two metrics that I can go and see results today. Like you can put an ad up today and see, does it spark interest to this specific audience, and what those numbers look like to see, is what we're doing working?
Yeah.
All right. And then I can go to a networking event and do the same thing, essentially put my newer product or my new way of positioning the business or the brand in front of somebody right now and see like on their face how they resonate with it, how their body language changes with it, and if that was even powerful for them.
Yeah, like how many yeses you get, how many no's you get, how many people that are like, oh, I know somebody who wants to talk to you, right? Versus, like, oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, and it's just raw test data. Like, I mean, I think nowadays we kind of get like, and I'm the one to talk as a digital marketer, but we get stuck behind the screen thinking that like this is the only mode of communication because we're so used to that now. And there's so many different ways to do it, the emails, texts, all that kind of stuff. And then on social media DMs. But I'm like, dude, if you go to somebody in person and you talk to them, it's still as effective as it's always been. It's like the most effective thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, we do have quite a bit of time still. So how has networking particularly impacted your business outside of like just sales? You talked about like moving mountains. What are some of those mountains that you're trying to move in this next stage of life here?
I mean, for me, just, building the network out, right? Like I never feel ill-equipped to help somebody in any scenario. Yeah. I'm a firm believer in we all can't service everybody. So specifically in the marketing space, if I meet another digital marketer or they do any, one or two different services in that realm, I'm able to just bring them in and able to actually give clients to them, right? Give referrals to them. We get enough referrals into the business. I get enough inbound leads, but not everybody's my cup of tea. Not everybody's the speed, that we are. They need a slower speed, or maybe they need a much faster speed, or something that's outside of the realm of what we do. I'm able to just give that person to somebody, and it's helping multiple people. I feel like it's helping the business owner, right, to feed their kids. It's helping my friend who's a digital marketer feed their kids. And I'm the person that put that connection together. So I get the benefit of.
So you're saying even within the industry, like even within the marketing or digital marketing industry. No, that's good. Yeah. I mean, that's like a whole nother can of worms, is competitor relationships. Like, I think people want to talk about strategic partnerships all the time. They want to talk about like, okay, well, a lender should know a realtor, right? And vice versa, right? And an insurance agent should know a car dealership, right? Like there are these like what we call power parties, and those are fantastic. But sometimes your biggest source of business is actually competition, because they're like, they have their own little niche. They do it really well. They know you have your niche and do it well. And it's like, is it more efficient to try to get all the business, or is it more efficient to just like do what I do really well, and then hey, maybe my competitor will kind of throw me a little thank you, and I'll be like a sales rep for my competitor, and then I can win and he can win too.
The thing is, it's like, the unity thing is real. Right. So the more that you guys come together, the more that you guys shine brighter. And I know that sounds corny, but it happens in every different aspect, right? Like
every industry.
Right. If we do like local SEO for a business, for example, if we put two businesses that are the same business closer together, they perform both better than if we just opened up a second location across town.
Yeah.
It's the same as that, right? And it's only because more people are able to see these options, and they're able to kind of change back and forth and have more space in that small area. It's the same as like restaurants, right? Like you don't see McDonald's across the street from Burger King just by chance. Like, they know this is the best corner, but they also know that, if somebody wants a burger, that they might just say, hey, you know what? I had McDonald's a few days now. Let me just go ahead and do Burger King. And then they're going to do that for the next few weeks.
Variety-seeking buying behavior. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that's the bigger thing that's important with networking, especially.
Yeah, seeing the bigger picture. Yeah, absolutely. No, that's really critical. I mean, I can't tell you how many times people think real estate and they go, oh, you sell houses. It's like, well, it's like a lot of people that sell houses. Like, same difference, right? Realtors be like, oh, I don't want to meet a real estate agent because they do the same thing. It's like, well, do you sell commercial? They're like, no, I don't know how to sell a commercial building. Well, you can get paid. If you have a client that wants to sell a commercial building, I can help you out, right? And some people, in business, they don't even think that way because they're so brand new. They're just like, oh man, it's a, dog eat dog world out here. It's like, it's not as competitive as you think. Like it is on the bottom, but then once you level up a little bit, we're all working together,
Yeah, and I think that stuff just like it comes back to bite you really anyway. Like I've been in situations where I was talking very highly about somebody else in my industry, and the person was like, man, they were just saying all types of negative stuff about you. So, I definitely want to work with you, right? Yeah. Like that's by design, at the end of the day. And as well, if multiple people in your industry can attest to your validity, I think it just lends way to you looking more credible and social proofing yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like it's just easy, but people do the opposite. They like run the other way. Oh, you do the same thing I do? Other way immediately. And I'm like, dude, you're missing huge opportunities there, I think.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, it even happens, in the guests in SPARC where, sometimes we'll have to like, talk to someone and be like, hey, like, I understand you might be a little intimidated. Somebody already has that category, but, just interview them. They have the opportunity to veto you if the process doesn't work, or if you guys can't work well to each other. But maybe if you just have a conversation and realize like there is room for you, like you can actually help that person. Like they're, and sometimes like I know them, I'm like, they're pretty open-minded. Just talk to them first, So
yeah. And timing is everything, right? Like you're not going to be able to service every person, right? Like, but at least if somebody comes into the group and they need, let's say a realtor, and we have two realtors here, then they're going to feel like, okay, well, I should choose between this and that.
Yeah.
That's like psychology, right? Buying psychology. If you can give them those two options, 3 is too much.
Yeah.
But if we have this or that, then somebody's going to get the sale versus somebody in this group or somebody that I know outside of the group.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And exactly. And then people go, well, yeah, in or out, right? And then when it's out, it's the whole dang world, you know?
Right.
So, you know, yeah, there's always opportunities. So is there anything that you want to talk about or you've learned about networking that you feel like I didn't ask about? Like you're like, Davin, this is like a hole in the conversation that you're just totally missing. Any questions maybe about my experience in networking?
Yeah. I mean, I could really just speak toward my process of networking in general.
Let's hear it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it goes from networking into the whole like automation side of everything. All right. So when I go to a networking event, for the most part, I'm just looking to have at least 20 conversations because I think those are like valid numbers. I think when you go over that, then you're just talking too short to people, not really having meaningful conversations. And if you have too little of that, you spent way too much time and it probably got away from business in general, right? And it's good to have rapport conversation and talk about other stuff, but essentially we should keep it around business because that's what we're gonna want to talk about later. And that's not gonna stick in your head if you're talking about your kids, your dog, everything else like that. So I try to just get, 20 different cards, right? Business cards, conversations with those people. And then I'm putting them straight into my CRM. So when we put them in the CRM, their system's gonna text them right away and let them know, hey, this is my contact. It sends them my V card, so my full contact card with everything optimized, ready to go on there. And then right after that, it goes into the morning text message, which is at about 10:45. It just says, hey, this is Breeze from yesterday's networking event. I didn't want to be a statistic and not follow up. So do you have a day this week or next week that you want to sit down and talk more about the business side of stuff? Whatever. Like that's so easy, and it gets about 40 to 50% of the people booked. So now you have about 10 booked calls that you can take, or you can kind of decline or move around just from one networking event.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You said 20 conversations, and I was like, if I can do 20 conversations in a night, that's a good night.
That's a good night.
Because for me in my business, if I can book like 5 people in a week, I'm pretty booked solid. Like I have so many other tasks I have to do other than like sales calls, and I'm like, okay, I really have to be selective of who I put on that calendar. But yeah, it just goes to show like a lot of people think like people don't want to talk to them, and like, yeah, people are going to say no. And actually most of the time they're going to say no, but like way more than you think are going to say yes. Like 30% is not a bad response, right? At all. And that's totally doable. If you want to get 10 appointments, you can meet 30 people in a week. Come on now. Yeah. Easy.
Off one event or 2 events, right? But it's about the system after. Like if you don't have an app or a CRM or something like that that's automated, then you literally have to text those people yourself, or you have to call them yourself. And if you don't do that, the next day, every day after that, every hour after that is kind of like just getting further and further away. They're not going to even remember the conversation the next time you see them. Or they were like, oh, you weren't really that serious about it last time because you told me this exact same spiel at another event and we never followed up on it.
Yep.
And it just, I don't know, it's not good business at the end of the day. Like,
no, that's
and a lot of people are looking for the business. So it's like, if you can't get 10 calls, then I don't think you're really trying. And that's why I tell them, if you can't do that, then there's really probably no need for you to get marketing. Or digital marketing if you haven't gone to any networking events to try to push the business at all.
Yeah. And it's like usually like for free or like $20. Like, can you throw like $20 at a Facebook ad and get 10 clients?
No, not off the bat. You know what I'm saying? Not off the bat, Not off the bat. It's going to take a while.
Yeah, exactly. Like versus a networking event, you could easily do that in a brand new market in, I don't know, probably a couple of weeks. Like, because it would take time to get invited to those first like multiple events per week. But then like once you get the ball rolling, it's so easy to keep it rolling.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, they say 6 degrees of separation, from anybody that you want to know in the world.
Yeah.
And in Vegas, it's like 2, 3 degrees from anybody that you want to meet.
Yeah.
So if you have, these conversations with 20 people a week and you're actually very forthcoming with the things that you're doing, the things that you need, the places that you're trying to go with the business and with you in general, then you're gonna find those people in abundance and way easier. But I think a lot of times we just focus in on one or two things. We're like, yes, so this is what I sell and this is what I do and this is, yeah, but like just talk about your business in general. Like what are, your passions, what brought you to the business, what are the different stages that you're at, what are the things that you want to grow in the business, You'll be able to find a lot of those answers by having that conversation versus just a sales convo.
Absolutely. And like, you talk about process and automation, but another thing that people have to realize is it's also like a filter. Like the goal is to talk to people who are responsive, right? The goal is to talk to people who like are full-time in their business, right? People that don't have the time to meet you to talk about their side hustle are probably people you don't want to be spending a lot of time with anyway. So it's like, having those systems to like follow up with people helps you like have that mental clarity of like, I really enjoyed talking to him. Like for whatever reason, that guy was likable, but like maybe it just wasn't meant to be. I'm not going to force this relationship. This other person that I didn't necessarily know if I had something in common with, you went out to coffee with him and you found something that you had in common. It was meant to be. That person said yes for a reason, right?
Yeah. And I'm sending that message out consistently every time, so if they respond to it, then I know that they had a sincere interest in it. And if they don't, I could just put them on a slow drip and leave it alone.
Exactly. All right, let's take just 1 minute to wrap up. So talk about something that maybe you got out of the podcast or you think listeners should get out of the podcast. And then we'll each talk about how people can get to know us and how they can contact us. And that's how we'll wrap up. So go ahead with your 1 minute. I'll go ahead and then we'll
I got you. So, as far as networking is concerned, man, just get out there and get in front of some people. Stop being so pushy with your business cards and have some inquisitive conversations and make a bunch of them every time. The more repetitions that you have, the better that you're going to get at having those conversations. And the better that you can get at the follow-up process after a networking event is going to severely increase the level of success that you have from them. If you can do those couple of things, I think that you're going to be able to like double your business in a year more often than not. Most businesses are just missing those few elements. And if you can line them up, then you will be perfect. You will be solid.
Absolutely on the follow-up there, right? Pushing a business card and like stabbing somebody in the gut with a piece of paper, right?
It's crazy.
There's less than a 1% response rate on that, right? If you have a quality conversation and you hand them a business card, the response rate is still less than 10%. If you have a great conversation and you give them a call, right? The response rate is over 50%. Like very few people are going to ignore you. And then of those people, very few people are going to say no, right? And so you're going to have great success there. So with that being said, Breeze, how can people get in touch with you? They want to get to know you. They want to do some marketing. How can they do that?
Yeah, so all platforms at Breeze from Raw, BREEZE from Raw, RAW, or you can text or call me at 725-999-9660.
Rock on. Cool. My name is Davin Sandvik. I'm not quite as accessible anymore. I have just quick social media, so you can give me a call by just going to my website, davinsandvik.com. Thank you for watching the SPARC Cast hosted with Fabrice Jordan and Davin Sandvik.
My man, thank you.
Of course.